But you see, ladies and gentlemen, what ended up happening there under that sordid, vicious ground of Treblinka didn't start there. It started in anti-Semitic tropes. It started in dehumanizing Jewish people. It started when people shared platforms with those who called for the genocide of Jewish people. This is not about politics, but there are certain things that disqualify you from leadership of our country.
Ladies and gentlemen, please give a very warm welcome to Robert Rinder.
Thank you very friends, thank you very much. Friends, I was asked today how I could be here. Friends, the question is not how I could be here, it's how we could not be here today. For far too long, we as a community, not just brothers and sister Jews, but our friends, our Christian allies, our Muslim brothers and sisters too. For too long, we as Jews have been in fear. We've sat amongst each other in anxiety, worrying, in fear, terrified of the future. And we as a creed have understood that what starts with Jews does never end with Jews. And therefore it's time to say enough. We collectively have come here today to be alongside and with one another on this ground, in this place, the cradle of democracy, the corner over there with Churchill, and over there Nelson Mandela. Ladies and gentlemen, my grandfather was a Holocaust survivor. He believed in this country. He touched the very face of tyranny and knew what happened when the rule of law disappeared. It was unthinkable less than 5 years ago, unimaginable, that I would find myself standing here at a rally against anti-Semitism. That, ladies and gentlemen, isn't just our tragedy. Above all else, it's our burden. It's our responsibility. It's a responsibility of each and every one of us to be a beacon, a shining beacon to the world, to remind everybody, whatever your creed, whatever your background, that when they come for the Jews, it doesn't stop there. Ladies and gentlemen, anti-Semitism isn't just on the rise. We've known of its dark shadow, its creeping horror for a long period of time. It's why we have our CST. It's why our children go to school behind barbed wire. It's why increasingly on social media people are under attack. It's why every single week, last week, 2 weeks ago, more hate crimes against Jews have been reported than ever. But we also know that that hate doesn't exist on its own. It exists hand in hand with growing hatred towards other communities too. What starts with us, ladies and gentlemen, what starts with Jews ends up creeping, ends up as a malignant force in society as a whole. Ladies and gentlemen, we are not here, friends, to talk about politics, but the truth of the matter is, sometimes it's impossible not to. It is a tragic reality that not long ago I stood on other ground. It was on the ground of Treblinka with the last survivor of that camp. And as I stood there with my mother, just the jagged suggestions, just the memory of what was underfoot, the last survivor placed his hand as my mum and I said Kaddish, the memorial prayer for what had happened. And as he reached around and touched my shoulder as I was about to say the names of my family, he said, "No, this is not for you. This is for Kol Yisrael. This is for every living Jewish person and for all of the people of the world, to remind the world of what happened." But you see, ladies and gentlemen, what ended up happening there under that sordid, vicious ground of Treblinka didn't start there. It started in anti-Semitic tropes. It started in dehumanizing Jewish people. It started when people shared platforms with those who called for the genocide of Jewish people. This is not about politics, but there are certain things that disqualify you from leadership of our country. Whatever your racism, whatever you do, when you call for the death, when you stand shoulder to shoulder with those that call for genocide, when you support the tropes that started as cartoons and ended up in the ground of Treblinka, you are disqualified from leadership of our country. Ladies and gentlemen, the fact that you are here is an act of courage. And ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you, it is a tragedy itself that it needs to be an act of courage. Being a Jew shouldn't be an act of courage. It's not just the rich gifts, the threads that we've sewn into the tapestry of our incredible country. That's not an act of courage. The tragedy is that's how it feels today. That's how it feels to be Jewish. That to be Jewish requires us to be brave. That to be Jewish is something which is dirty, furtive, and dangerous. Well, we're here today to say that it's not. We're here today to stand shoulder to shoulder with those who support us. And the reality is there are millions out there. Millions. People of goodwill, of every creed, of every class, of every background, of every single religion, that understands that what starts in a mural ends in murder, ladies and gentlemen. Ladies and gentlemen, today I salute your courage. I salute our solidarity today. We here, each and every one of us, are here to remind the world, our collective souls, our neshamot, our spirits today. We may be only a few thousand in number, but as ever, we will remind the world that what starts with us, what starts with discrimination of Jews, is a dark creeping shadow that ends up on everybody else's doorsteps. Because, ladies and gentlemen, when we remain silent and they come for us, if we stay silent, when they come for everybody else, there's nobody left. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, thank you for coming today. Thank you for your courage. Above all else, thank you for reminding the world what we can be when we stand in solidarity with one another. Happy Hanukkah. Underneath that ground, with the jagged suggestions of what had taken place there, the last survivor of Treblinka, the last eyewitness, as he prayed to the world this would never happen again, what he understood is that that horror didn't start there. It started in anti-Semitic tropes. It started in dehumanizing Jewish people. It started when people shared platforms with those who called for the genocide of Jewish people. This is not about politics, but there are certain things that disqualify you from leadership of our country.